All right, now we can begin. What's up? What's up? What's up? Say hi.
Hi.
All right.
Hey.
So we want to welcome you guys to the Teaching Genius podcast. All right, with your host, Egypt Bush.
Yeah.
All right, and your co-host, Raheem Bush. Yeah. And today we got Miss Good from the Southwest Charlotte STEM Academy. Woo! All right. And we're going to get right into it, all right? So our first question, Miss Egypt, take it away.
My first question is, how long have you been a teacher?
Okay, so I may look young, but I'm actually kind of old. I've been teaching for, I think this is year 11. I think. And the reason I say I think is because I've honestly been teaching since my last year of high school, just not official, of course, until I graduated from college. But I've been working in education since my last year of high school.
So you counting the last year of high school?
I mean, I was over a whole entire arts and crafts program at an after school program. For me, it counts. I count all my years.
I don't know if that's resume years or real years, but I'm gonna let you rock. You know?
Thank you. I appreciate it. But no, 11 years, real years.
That's beautiful. Well, at least you're not aging like Obama. You know what I'm saying? That black is not cracking on that side. All right.
Right.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so my second question is, what's your favorite thing about your career?
Interacting with my students. I really love my kids. I started as an elementary school teacher. So I taught second and third grade for the longest, and they were my favorite thing ever. And then my principal, once I moved into my new position as the STEM coordinator, was like, you have to teach middle school. And I wanted to run the other way because nobody wants to teach middle school. Right. But it has by far been one of my favorite things that I've ever done. Being able to connect with them, being able to show up for them in ways that only I can. It's been the best thing that has happened to me.
So, okay, my question to you is, so you haven't taught high school yet, right?
No.
All right, so I think the real struggle is probably at the high school level, right? Because the middle school, they got problems, but they don't really know they got real serious problems. And then elementary, they tell you all their business, so you know all of their problems, but they're not aware of their problems. I got that right?
So elementary, they tell you all their problems, and they're very visual. They're still at the age where it's okay for me to cry, right, and it's okay for me to be really excited about things. I think middle school, the part that makes middle school hard is they try really hard to fit in, right? And I think because I try so hard to fit in, I don't really have true identity, and I'm still trying to figure this out. And what does it mean when I leave this place where I'm no longer really a kid anymore? Right. And so you have all of these emotions, and they're just figuring out hormones. And so, whereas I feel high schoolers, I've had hormones for a while, and I know kind of how they operate. And I kind of know what I want to be when I grow up at that point, kind of, sort of. I mean, I'm still 32, and I there's so many things I want to be, but I just think that high school, they have it a little bit more figured out. Whereas middle school, they're just all over the place. They're am I a baby or am I a kid? It's a lot.
I think that's new though. The hormones. I don't think we had hormones when we was in 6, 7, 8.
Definitely had them.
I don't remember having them. I all I got was height. And I got funky around 8th grade. I ain't get.
Yeah,
funky.
No, they are funky. They are tall. It's a lot. There's girls walking around that school that are taller than me, and they love to tell me, Miss Good, look up, and I'm no, I'm not looking up to you. That's not a thing.
That's what's up. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so my third question is, what is the thing you would change if you were in charge of the system, the one from the beginning?
Okay, so I have 2 things that I would change. I think that we test kids too much. Right. I just believe that we've created this culture of robots where we teach them to test, but not teach them to think. And I think that that's a huge problem because we're in this age where you have jobs like software engineering and all of these big time jobs that require critical thinking. And then we're building robots. So the puzzle's not going to fit. it just doesn't make good sense, because it's just like, we want critical thinkers, but we don't do the things to get critical thinkers. We teach them to test and not really think, in my opinion. I think that also the stress of testing can also deter kids from liking school. Like, I personally have seen in some schools where they have tested kids, like I've seen tests who had, like, kids who have had testing every single day out of the week, except for one day, in all of their classes in middle school. And like, to me, that's extremely absurd. Like, but why? Like, why are we doing this? Like, I think that like, we really need to like think about that. And what is a different way that we can go about assessing students to really get the data, because it's all about quote unquote data, like the data that we need in order for us to really determine if these students are, you know, bright or need retention or need additional help. I think that we miss the mark on that so frequently. Like, we have students do senior projects, but why isn't there a project after second grade that basically determines what they do? Why isn't there a project after, you know, seventh grade that basically helps them in their way show what they've learned? We want it our way so bad that we forget about the kid. And I think that like, for that, like alone, like testing is trash, in my opinion.
So let me ask you this, right? A dumb person, right? A dumb person, right, would think that the teacher who's with the student throughout this day, throughout the week, throughout the 200 something days y'all have at school, would be able to be the person that would be able to tell you if the kid knew what he was doing or didn't, right? Or is that just, that's just too smart?
So no, like I think it comes in a bunch of different ways. Like, I feel like, yeah, the educator does have a pretty good picture of how much the student knows. And I do believe that there are some sort of diagnostic tests that can help you along the way, like know how well a child's progressing. And I told you earlier, I have a 7-year-old, and my 7-year-old does exceptionally well at math, but struggles with reading. And I think that like the diagnostic tests that her teachers help give us a greater picture of, you know, what she reads. But I also know another thing too. My daughter doesn't do well when she feels like she's pressured to do things that she doesn't want to do. So like, you're telling her to read a book, and I've read the same book to her at home, and she can read it at home, but she's not going to read it to you because she feels that pressure. And then also, like, I had testing anxiety when I was in school. And so I don't feel like you always get the full picture of what the kid knows. So
Right.
I think like the teacher knows some of it, but I think the parent can also advocate for their child, like if they know that their kid knows what they know, you know what I'm saying? But I also think that just comes in like,
I feel like the world has changed and we haven't recognized that. So the reality of it is, when you talk about public school, you're talking about something that was created because your dad went to a job at a factory. You understand what I'm saying?
yeah.
So all he needed to do was what he was told to do. And now the job is telling the computer what to do. And the game has completely changed. And there's so much more thought that's needed. Like, McDonald's is not going to cut it. You understand what I'm saying? So that just training somebody to do A, B, C, and they do that all day, they're not going to have nowhere to work. So you creating, like you said, a bunch of people who's supposed to do jobs where they have to critically think, and they're not being taught to critically think.
Yeah. And not even just critically think, like, we're teaching these kids to test, but I believe in a good old presentation, because like, they're also going to have to know how to interview, and they're also going to have to know how to public speak. And there's so many, as we like to call them in the education world, and probably like business world too, they're called soft skills. We need to teach kids to critically think, but we also have to teach them soft skills.
Right.
Like,
right.
You know,
I mean, a lot of MBAs say that. They say that you go to Harvard and you get this great degree in business, but then you don't know how to talk to none of the workers. And that's the biggest part of the job at the end of the day, you know? So I agree. All right, go ahead. Go with your next question.
So can you tell us one of your fondest memories while working with your students?
So both of them kind of happened this year. I love like full circle moments, like when things just kind of like click. So I started at my school that I'm at 3 years ago. We were a brand new charter school. We opened like 2019, right before COVID hit.
Nice.
And so one of my students, she's a very, very bright student, wants to be like a surgeon of sorts, like, but also wants to own her own business and has the capabilities to do all of that. So watching her blossom from like 6th grade to 8th grade, and then asking me to help her fill out all of her stuff for high school, like that was a really good memory for me. I was super excited about that because I'm just really excited about like what's going to take shape in her life. So I think that that's pretty cool. And then another one is my first group of students. They graduate from high school this year. So when I taught 2nd grade back in 2011, that was my first group of students. And so they graduate this year. And then one of them has sent me a message on Instagram, just letting me know that they like really like enjoyed my class when they were in 2nd grade. And like, I'm the reason that they're pursuing certain degrees now. And so I think that those are going to be some of the moments that stick with me. And like, that's my why. That's why I keep showing up and keep me like continuing the educational pursuit. So.
No, that's fire. But you wouldn't have got that if you didn't make that transition, right?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have gotten that first one if I didn't make the transition. So the transition was like, yay, I did it. And here I am, like, helping her fill out like high school stuff. And then also like knowing that we're still connected, like she invited me to her quince, just stuff like that. Like I just feel super connected with my students. But then also a student I haven't talked to since she was in 2nd or 3rd grade is reaching out to me. And that means a lot too, that I had an impact on that student. And I haven't seen that student in years, to know that they still like value what I did for them way back when. So.
Yeah. I think it's amazing that y'all guys, it's a relay race where you might not necessarily see the end. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And everybody has that teacher, that principal, that
mentor.
It's somebody that you passed in those hallways that literally changed your life forever. And I guess now we have the internet, so you're probably going to get a message one way or the other, good or bad, from that person. But before that wasn't the case. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
y'all are strong for that. Y'all are strong for that. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so my last question is, what advice would you give to your younger self when you were training to be training for this field, like training for your life?
Be your authentic self. I think whenever you're fresh off the boat or fresh out of school or whatever you want to call it, like I worked in a school my first year full of veteran teachers. And when I say veteran, I'm not talking about they've been doing it for 10, 11 years. These are people who had retired, came back to work, and were still working. And then I had, women who were like 3 years from retirement. Like they have been teaching for years. And like some of the students that they had in their class were like sons and daughters of kids that they had taught before. Right. And so I felt like I had to conform to what they were doing and how they were doing things. And those first 2 years were just really not hard for me, but like they were just super like, I should do this and I need to do this. And how about I do it this way? And then once I realized like why my principal hired me, and it was because of my creativity, and it was because I was younger and had a fresh perspective. And it was because he saw a spark in me that like no one else didn't. Well, not necessarily didn't, but he saw that spark, that something different that I could definitely bring to that building. When I started to tap into that, that's when I started to tap into like my superpower as a teacher. So I would just say, I would have told her like, be your authentic self, show up as your authentic self. It doesn't matter if everybody else is doing it or if they agree with it. You know what's right for kids, so keep doing it.
So let me ask you this, right? So from what I got from that, I don't think nothing that you could have did would have changed that very first year, right? Do you agree with that?
Not necessarily. No. My first year was a doozy. It was fun, but it was a doozy.
Okay. Because I feel like, all right, anybody, your first couple of days on the job, no matter where you work at, it's kind of like, all right, you try to ride the wave and follow the whatever the society has placed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You work for Chick-fil-A, you're gonna smile real hard. You work for McDonald's, you're gonna start being rude quickly. But at the same time, I feel like that second year, like that advice is amazing. You understand what I'm saying? Because now you've proved that you can do it. So therefore, being yourself is going to be much easier. I mean,
yeah, and it even like goes down to like how I like dressed and showed up to work too, because like I think like I'm still in the process of like that. Like I used to always like wear like A-line, like I used to dress like them because I didn't want to like dress outside. And like now you will catch me in my J's in a dress at school because like that's how I feel. And like I feel like if I would have shown up that way at my old school, they would have looked at me sideways. And so I think it's just one of those things where like I have truly become my own. And I'm completely okay with it. Like I relate to my kids. Like I secretly have kids who come to my classroom at 10 o'clock and sneak off from class because they've gone to the bathroom so that they can catch the sneaker drops on sneakers. Like, and I'll allow it. Like, it's just one of those things. It's just like, you just have to find what works for you. Because what everybody else is doing may not be it. And Instagram can be real bad place to like be when you're like a first year teacher. Like there's tons of great ideas, but when you start comparing yourself to like what some of these other people are doing and what you're not doing and all of the things, I think like getting caught up in that world.
Oh, so you haven't like stood in the front of the class and rap because that was the thing for a little while?
I know I can't rap. I know it is not my thing. I would never. Like my kids laugh at me all the time because they're like, do TikToks with us. And I'm like, I don't dance on camera like that, but I will do a fake TikTok with you. And they laugh at me all the time because I'm going to do it in my own corny fashion. And I'm going to be okay with it. No, I'm not going to sit up there and create handshakes with kids. And for every person that comes in, shout out to the,
LeBron, you could handle that.
I know my memory's shot. Like I know it's not for me, but like you can catch me on like creating real authentic relationships with kids. And a lot of that won't be on camera. And a lot of that won't show up on an Instagram post because like, that's not like my teacher life maybe isn't Instagrammable like that for real. And I'm okay with that because I know I'm building like authentic relationships with children. And that's what matters the most.
Right. Okay. That's beautiful.
For me.
That's, no. That's amazing. And I'm honestly, I hope that there's a young teacher watching this that could take some of that in and recognize that. Listen, you ain't got to compete. You know what I'm saying? The same way you tell your kids not to compete, you ain't got to compete. We all great in our own way, and just like some people when they pray, how you talk to God is how you talk to God. You understand?
Right.
How you deal with them kids is how you deal with them kids. If you getting it done.
Right. And I think that's the thing. Like, I think that people just expect like us all to be the same. Like, I remember my favorite one. My mom freaked out when I got my first tattoo. And she was like, how are you going to be a teacher with a tattoo? And I was just like, Mom, like, I'm pretty sure there are teachers with whole sleeves and it is okay. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how I show up and how I look. It matters how I treat people's kids. Right. And I know that my heart is in the right place. And I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And I think that that's the thing. Like, I just think that like, you just have to show up and do what you know is best. Like, not what anybody else thinks is best. You shut that door and you teach. And if teaching involves you teaching them life lessons that day, you do it. And if it involves teaching them equations, then you do it. But you know what your kids need. You're with them long enough. So you just figure that out and you just go with the flow. Like, you just go with what you know is best, I think. And if you don't know what's best or don't feel like you know what's best, find you a mentor.
No, that's real talk. I think like I said, I'm hoping that young teacher that's insecure at this moment, you just change their whole life. You know what I mean?
Because when they watch this video, they're gonna see.
Right. They're gonna be able to take that lesson and run with it. You know what I mean? That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So Ms. Goode, we want to thank you.
Yes, thank
all right.
you. It's good.
We appreciate having you on the Teaching Good podcast. Yes. You got anything that you want to promote? You want to give out your Instagram for all of your students?
I was about to say, all my students follow me. That's a huge thing. Like, most of my followers are my kids. Don't judge me.
You good. I would never.
So it's at Good Teaching. Follow me. I will be posting my teacher summer journey That's pretty much it. But outside of that, like not really
So
doing anything.
Over the summer?
I do. So that's the crazy thing. Like people ask me that all the time, and I do not teach summer school. I don't. It is not for me.
Let me tell you why I'm clapping real quick, right? Before we get out of here. So I know that children need summer school.
Right.
We do understand that. But I don't think that people understand how difficult and how much you guys pour in to these children every single day. And that break for them 2 months and a half, I feel like a lot of y'all need to take full reign and appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? The beautiful thing here in New York, they're doing like a split. So the first 4 hours of school is going to be actual teaching. And then the next, they actually go until 6 o'clock. And when they go, right. But it's after, it's like an after school provider.
Okay.
So now you got games, activities, stuff to keep the kids busy and off the street. But you only really bothering the teachers for that first little 4 hours. You know what I mean? And it's really important. Like I said, I literally look at it like you pouring into you got a jug and you pouring into glasses. And the only thing you're gonna fill that up is if you take a break. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm really big on that. I use my PTO days, I take breaks. I just think that it's necessary. And then also, like, I have a 7-year-old and I go hard for my kids during like the school year. So now it's like time for me to go hard for mine. And although she's an only child, she goes to like not summer school, she goes like summer camp and stuff, but that's also our time to like travel and hang out at the pool with like me not having to grade anything or worry about where this kid is or what he's done or respond to emails. So I just really take that time. I like teach a camp, but I do that at the far end of the summer when I've like done my things.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, so we want to thank you for having having us. All right, at the Teaching Genius podcast. We definitely want to throw your socials at the bottom so that they can follow.
Sounds good.
And we appreciate your time. You know what I'm saying, and thank you so much.
Thank you
for changing the world, whether you realize it or not.
Sounds good. I have a question since y'all wanted to interview me. So, Miss Egypt, what, or I shouldn't say what, who is your favorite teacher and why?
I think it's Miss Goldberg because she's really like caring and she thinks you shouldn't be scared to be yourself, and she teaches us all about different stuff and she makes math fun.
That is awesome.
Because she wants us to learn that math isn't boring. She wants us to know that math is fun. So math
is fun. I like Miss Goldberg. Math is my favorite subject. So I love when kids love math.
I thought she was gonna say because she's the same height as the teacher, but okay.
I love it. Well, thank y'all.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll see you on the next episode.
See y'all.